It's never good to be the bringer of bad news, but we're in a far worse position now than we were a year ago, than we were even 18 months ago. Our freedoms have been taken away from us, our platforms have been taken away from us, and our political voice is being silenced. That's very dangerous. It's very dangerous not just for our movement, but it's very dangerous for the sinister forces that are trying to shut us up. Because with every reaction, there's going to be an equal and opposite reaction. And that's a very, very dangerous thing to do. Now, I'm a Democrat. I believe that everything we must do peacefully. But the point I'm trying to make is very simple. When legitimate, democratic, legal voices are silenced because their opinion is considered to be unorthodox or heretical, there will be a reaction to that. Not from the people who are being silenced, because they're peaceful, democratic people, but from people who turn round to us and say, your way is not working. Let's try it our way now. And that is the situation that the government is pushing people in our movement to. Let's look at what's happened in the last 6 months. The last 6 months, we've seen Facebook become ever more authoritarian and totalitarian. As far as I can tell, I could be wrong, but as far as I can tell, my problems with Facebook, and I'll be brutally honest about where I'm at with Facebook. 2 months ago, I had 17 pages on Facebook. I was getting tens of thousands of views between the different pages. Had a very big and strong profile myself. I was involved in lots of little groups. I'm not going to name them because I don't want them to get banned as well. But I was involved in lots of small groups, big groups. And we were talking about the issues that affect our country. We were debating with people. We were convincing people that weren't involved in our movement that our cause was right and just. And then suddenly, Facebook started closing my accounts. First of all, it would be a 30-day ban. Then it would be lots of community guideline warnings over posts that had nothing more than Tommy Robinson's name in them. And I'm convinced that I have been unpersoned from Facebook because of my connections with Tommy Robinson. And I've lost my voice on Facebook. I have been sent to Facebook's Siberia by Chairman Zuckerberg, the leader of the Facebook Politburo. Now we can laugh about this and we can say, oh well, it's just one platform. It's very serious, and it's serious for the following reasons. First of all, freedom of speech. I have never, as far as I know, in the UK, I have never committed a hate crime. I totally reject the idea of hate speech and hate crimes. I think it's a ludicrous idea, and I think freedom of speech should be absolute. I'm a freedom of speech absolutist. And even if people say things that offend me, I'm willing to accept that on the grounds of protecting freedom of speech. But Facebook has become an enemy of freedom of speech, which is a great tragedy. They have caved in to pressure from the so-called progressives, who are really cultural Marxists and communists, who want to drive our society down a road that will absolutely ruin Western civilization. So that's the first point. Facebook has become increasingly totalitarian, and it is closing us down left, right and centre. But secondly, when those voices are closed down, if you listen to what Tommy Robinson says, and you listen to what Anne-Marie Waters says, and you listen to what Gerard Batten said, you listen to what I say, listen to what Lord Pearson has said, listen to what ex-Muslims like Mo Fayez and Nissa Hussain and other ex-Muslims that literally won't put their faces out there have said about the situation with the Islamization of the UK, and try and find anything that they say that is not true. I'd be very, very interested to hear the responses from that. Look at what people like David Woods are saying when they're critiquing the texts of Islam. When you see what they're saying, they're telling the truth. So if truth has now become a crime, if it's now a crime to tell the truth about a certain ideology, and this isn't just in the UK, this is across this is across the Anglosphere, across Western civilization, the Western speaking countries. Free speech is being closed down. And what happens when that happens is people become radicalized. This isn't going to lead to less radicalization. This is going to radicalize people further. And the voices of reason, the voices that have been saying to people who want to maybe take the law into their own hands or do things that I wouldn't agree with, my voice will be drowned out. The voice that's saying, let's do it democratically, let's win elections, let's show these people what we're about at the ballot box, my voice will be silenced. And what will happen is, as we saw in Northern Ireland, what will happen is when the voices of democracy are crushed and beaten down literally and silenced, the voices of violence will get louder and louder and louder until there's an explosion. Is that what the government wants? Is that what the CEO, well, the CEO of Facebook and the people that control Google and YouTube, they probably don't care because they're living in their gated mansions miles away from anything that's going to go wrong or that's going to happen. But I genuinely believe if our voices are consistently silenced, there will be such a build-up of tension and aggression that there will be an explosion. And it will be a violent explosion. And I hope and pray that that does not happen. But if it does happen, the governments and the people that have silenced us will have a hell of a lot of blood on their hands. Maybe that's what they want. Maybe they want people on our side to react violently so that they can come in and crush them violently and violently suppress them. But we all know that that is not the way this works. Once that genie is out of the bottle, it is very, very difficult to put back in. And those of us who have worked tirelessly to give a political direction to our movement, to give hope to our movement, when that political direction is taken away, which it has been, when that hope is taken away, what is left for those people? You see, there is a pecking order in society now. And the person that is lowest in that pecking order, and this is right the way through academia, this is right the way through government, the person who is lowest in that pecking order of rights, the person who is considered a piece of dirt on everybody else's shoe, is the white English man, or the white working class Scotsman, or the white working class Irishman, or the white working class Ulsterman, or the white working class Welshman. We are considered to be absolutely worthless by central government. You can see by the way they talk about us. You can see by the way these pressure groups talk about us. They talk about white privilege. They talk about the patriarchy. And what they're saying is to white working class men that your opinion is worthless, you are worthless, and we are going to crush you. That is what they're saying. When you look at the way people like Emily Thornberry speak, Diane Abbott, David Lammy, McDonnell, Corbyn, they are not friends of the working class, they are enemies of the working class. But it's not just them, it's right the way through the whole of government. Look at that leaflet that the army put out, that disgraceful, disgusting leaflet, where to be a patriot is something that's a warning flag for someone who's going to be an extremist. Well, guess what? If you keep putting people down and crushing people and silencing people and stopping them having a democratic voice and stopping them being heard, they might just turn into the monster that you think they are. And that's the situation we're in. A year ago, we had a political party, a mainstream political party that was supporting us. We had a political leader that was supporting us. We had social media outlets where we could talk about the issues that concern us. And now, totalitarians, liberal fascists and communists and Islamists have managed to silence our movement. They have managed to discredit the political party that was actually standing for the British working class. And now they want to take our voices away on every single platform. And I believe, the irony of this, I did a lot of my work on Facebook in the last 2 years to galvanise support for this movement and to get people involved in this movement. I use Facebook a lot. I've lost Facebook totally. I've given up on Facebook. I think we need to probably go outside Facebook and make a bit of noise and do a protest at Facebook. But I've totally lost Facebook. When that started happening, I started building up my YouTube platform, and I wonder, how long will you be able to watch my videos on YouTube? Now, we're working on other platforms. There's some really good people in the background who are working on other platforms, and that's their skill set and that's what they're doing. But it's going to take time for them to come online, and obviously the public square is Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Unfortunately, I hope that changes, but at the minute, that's what we're stuck with. So once we're removed from those platforms, it makes our job a hell of a lot harder. And I'll be honest, I got up a few days ago and I thought, what's the point? I don't get any money out of this. I do this literally. You know, a lot of people, when they get to 50, they get hobbies, they go fishing, they maybe buy a sports car. Well, I'm involved in trying to save my country. That's what I do with my spare time. And I thought a few days ago, is there any point in going on? If we're going to be silenced, if we're going to be crushed, if we're going to be put down, is there any point in this? And I spoke to some friends. It's always good to speak to friends when you're feeling like giving up. I spoke to some friends, and I looked at my children and my grandchildren. I thought, hell yes, it's worth continuing in this fight. It's going to be harder. It's going to be more difficult for us to win, but we've got to keep going and we've got to press on. And if they take me off YouTube, I'll find another platform. Facebook's gone. I'm on Telegram. I've got my own website. I've got my own mailing list. I'm going to continue doing this until they completely silence me, because this is too important for our children and for our grandchildren and for everybody that lives in the UK, no matter what colour, creed, race, background. This is not about attacking one single community or singling people out. This is very simply about calling the establishment out for what they are and for what they have done to our country. Let's see how long we last on YouTube. Let's look for other platforms. I'm looking at Minds. I'm not sure how good Minds is. I think there's problems with Minds already, as far as I can tell from what David Wood said. I'm on Telegram, Gab, MeWe, BitChute. We're going to have to start using all these platforms. I'm on them all, but I never use them. But I'm going to have to start using them, and I suggest we all start using them. But finally, and I keep coming back to this, and nobody else is talking about this, and I probably should do a video completely on this on its own. The government, under Home Secretary Sajid Javid, is trying to pass legislation that will literally prosecute social media companies for publishing content like ours. It's as simple as that. There's no other way of putting it. We're deemed to be extreme right wing. That's what the government perceives us to be, even though we're not. And our content will become criminal. It'll become criminal for social media companies to post our content if this legislation goes through. So we need to be aware of that. There's a consultation period going out with this legislation. I'm going to put the links down below this video in the legislation, and we need to oppose it. We need to oppose that legislation. We need to write to our MPs. We need to get involved in the consultation period. And we need to be, I keep saying this and I'll say it time and time and time again, we need, as long as we can, we need to be involved in the democratic process. We need to register to vote, and we need to get these bastards out of Parliament that are wrecking our country. I'll see you all soon, I hope.